Well, hi, everybody. Welcome back to another edition of On the Town with Suz and where she is. And I'm Doug. And we're here to do another one of our entertainment themed programs tonight. Some of the shows and movies that she and I watched primarily growing up as kids in a
Yes,
certain era. And
yes.
this is another one of those shows tonight. We're going to talk about one of my favorite shows of all time and one of Suz's as well. But Suz, you let the folks know what show we're talking about.
We're talking about The Odd Couple.
Just
Yes,
saying it makes you laugh.
yeah,
Remembering it.
love it. It was so good.
Classic TV show, ran from 1970 to 75. It was based on the play, which was a big play on
Yeah,
Broadway. And then, of course, there was a movie with Jack Lemmon and Walter Matthau.
it
But
was.
the TV show really kind of made it a classic with Tony Randall and Jack Klugman.
Yes, it was so. And I really thought Tony Randall and Jack Klugman. I mean, they were just so good. They were really.
As
You,
good as any two, any comedy team. Like you go back to Ralph Cramden and Ed Norton, Jackie Gleason and Art Carney. That level, I think.
yeah, absolutely. And just very their chemistry
Yeah.
together was just so good. I
And for
loved it.
people that are, too young to know what we're talking about, it's the play was based on two guys that they're both divorced, or one is getting thrown out of his house, Felix, and Oscar's already divorced, and
Yeah,
they're forced to kind of room together, and one is very neat and one is very sloppy. That's the basic premise
yes,
for people that
yes.
don't know.
Was really funny, and it's just like how even with the one Oscar, who is the more messy, it can be annoying with a really neat person.
Oh yeah, Felix was the most annoying to
Yes,
Oscar. Yeah, yeah,
and it was like, why did you put this here? Why did you do this? And it got on his nerves,
yeah.
definitely.
Well, Felix was definitely like a nudge. They used to call a nudge. He was always cleaning everything to excess. And of course, Oscar's room was a classic. Remember his room on the TV show?
It's
I
so
mean,
hilarious.
everything with the bed, everything on the bed that you could ever have, all the
Yeah,
clothes on the floor.
it was so
You have
hilarious.
fried fish sandwiches. You could have everything in there.
In there. And I think that Felix's room must have been, yeah,
They didn't
it was
show it a lot, but when they did, it was like, meticulously neat, the room.
neat.
Yeah.
And
Nothing
so,
was out. The bed was like perfectly made.
it was so, and I know there's people like that in
Oh,
real.
yeah, yeah, sure.
They
Yeah.
have, uh,
Obsessively neat. I mean, that's what Felix was. You couldn't leave anything out of place. So even Tony Randall said in interviews, he said, Felix wasn't just clean; it was an obsession with him.
yeah,
Yeah,
and he, and it was like always, and it seems like he was always running the vacuum cleaner or.
vacuum or the air freshener, because Oscar would smoke the cigars in the apartment, and Felix
Uh,
hated that.
so hilarious, and it was so funny. So I think like their area in the apartment where they both were, it was pretty clean because
It
Felix
was
was.
always clean until Oscar came home. Then he'd, start throwing stuff. But Oscar's desk was always a mess. Remember, he had the desk in the living room. That was always a mess.
And it was just, it was so, and he was a sports writer.
He was a sports writer for the New York Herald, the newspaper, made up
Oh,
name. And
yeah.
of course, Felix in the TV show was a photographer. Yeah.
Okay, that's what I was trying to. Okay, so he was a
Portrait's
photographer.
a specialty, he always said. So he was a photographer.
Uh, uh, so, oh my, it was so.
And just, it wasn't just sloppy and clean jokes. I mean, they had a lot of those, but it just those two characters, the acting was so good and the writing was so good that the
Yeah,
situations they put them in, uh, it was just great. Now, the first year, I remember they didn't do it with a live audience. It was like almost
no,
like a movie. First year, not great. Even the actors have said they weren't too thrilled with it. Then once they went in front of a live audience, it got a lot better. Second
yeah.
season.
Yeah, it was yeah, I think the first year it was kind of like
Yeah, no audience at all. A laugh track like a lot of sitcoms in the '60s had. Nothing wrong with it, but that
yeah,
kind of show. Even Jack Klugman said once they went to a live audience, they heard the laughter, like doing theater, and that's when he knew that show was going to be a hit. even if it wasn't on the network, it wasn't a hit. It said the ratings were always pretty low, but once it went into
Wow.
syndication, it was like the Honeymooners, you know.
Wow.
Yeah,
It was incredible. Yeah.
yeah. I don't know.
It,
In Jersey, in New York, it was always on Channel 11, 11 o'clock at night. Was it on in Jersey every
it
night once it
was,
went to syndication?
we had that. I'm trying to think, let's see, on Southern New Jersey, it
You
was,
probably would have gotten Philadelphia, right? Station
yeah,
Philadelphia.
Philadelphia. So we had WCA. I'm trying to think. I think it was on ABC or
Usually, the independent stations would run it, as, you know, in the syndication. So
yeah,
they must have
yeah,
had a station there that ran those, right?
yeah. It probably was one of the PBS. Maybe that would
Yeah,
have
it
been,
would have been PBS, but it was probably one of the. You probably had a station like a Channel 11 in New York that
yeah,
ran
that
an
did that.
independent
Yeah,
station.
yeah.
Yeah, that's where it took off. I remember watching it when it was on the network. It was on ABC, part of that Friday night lineup with Partridge Family
Yeah.
and Brady Bunch. Odd Couple was part of that
Oh my gosh, that's
Friday
great.
night. Love American Style.
Was that was like the 1970s? That was
The
like
70 to 75, that show was on. So yeah, Partridge Family came on in 70. Brady Bunch was 69, but they were all on that Friday night lineup. That was a great kids lineup. Because kids could
uh
stay up late and watch it. You know, I could. Yeah.
it was really nice because it was like family.
Room
It was
222 was the other show. Remember Room 222?
yeah, what was that about? I was trying to
That was
remember.
really good. We'll do a video on that sometime. But it was about a high school in LA and like 3 or 4 teachers and a principal. It was really good.
Oh
Yeah.
my gosh,
Kind of, you know, what high school was like then, but very well done. Yeah. Yeah,
wow.
Karen Ballantyne was in it. She was like a young teacher. And then
Okay.
Mr. Dixon was like a, you know, the teacher that kind of revolved around. He was, you know, cared about the kids, gave them good advice. And the principal was kind of a haggard guy, you know, he was put
Yeah,
upon, but he was good, you know.
yeah. Oh my
And the
god.
guidance counselor. So yeah, it was really good. Yeah.
Oh my
But that was
gosh.
part of the Friday night lineup on ABC back then, you know.
Very room 222. I remember hearing about it was like it was definitely in the 70s, room
About
222.
70 to 74, something like that. Yeah.
Okay, I
So
remember.
that was, they were all on in those 4 or 5 years, all those shows.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, it's because I still remember shows like Tony Orlando and Dawn, but that was a
Right.
Wednesday.
Yeah, it was on about what, 73, 74 that came on, right?
That was a
I don't
CBS.
remember what night it was on though. It was on CBS.
That no, that was Wednesday.
Was it
That
Wednesday? Okay.
like
I think we
you know,
watched some in our house. I don't think my parents were too thrilled with that show because it wasn't on that often. But I
yeah,
remember seeing a couple of them. Yeah.
yeah, it was
We only had the one TV, so I didn't get the choice then.
yeah. Yeah, it was like it was okay, but it was mostly like kind of some comedy, something like a Sonny and Cher
What are you going to
show.
say? It was the same format. They'd come out and sing, Tony Orlando and Dawn, and then the 2 girls would make fun of him,
Yeah,
kind of insult him, and then they'd finish the song, and then they
yeah,
do some comedy sketches. It was
yeah.
mostly a musical show.
Yeah, it was kind of like they would have like maybe a guest on there, but
Yeah, they would guest star on one, you know.
the girls were kind of wisecracking.
They were kind of sassy, you know, sassing them, and you know that was the whole like
And
Cher
then
did with Sunny. It was the same
yeah,
basic format. The two
yeah.
girls, Dawn would make fun of Tony. Yeah.
Oh, and it was kind of cute, but of course when I watched it, I was a second grader or a third grader.
Right.
So what you like as a second grader and as an adult are probably I think I had one of their albums too, Tony
Yeah, they were
Orlando.
popular. Obviously, the Tie Yellow Ribbon song was their big one, but they had a few hits. Yeah.
Not three
He just
times.
retired, I saw, from performing
Oh,
this year.
wow.
I think he just turned 80 or something. He said he's not going to perform anymore, but he was still doing it, you know.
Wow. Oh my gosh. Yeah, Tony Orlando. Yeah, I was guessing his nationality Italian. I'm
I thought he
guessing.
was Italian. He's half Greek and half Puerto Rican, I think.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
because I didn't.
I think the father must have been Hispanic, I guess Puerto Rican, and the mother was Greek.
Oh,
Orlando's an Italian, Hispanic name, right? So,
yeah.
but Greek and Italian, Greek and Hispanic.
Okay, because I was
I thought he
trying.
was Italian too originally. He
That's
looked,
what I always thought,
yeah,
because he kind of looked it, and
yeah, yeah,
uh, I wasn't sure. And Orlando, I
yeah. It's
I couldn't. Oh, yeah.
yeah.
Okay. So
But
that
yeah,
makes
that was
that's interesting.
Wednesday night show. Like I said, I forgot what night it was on, but yeah, all in the early '70s. But
Oh,
yeah, Odd Couple. Of course, they had the other great characters on there. Murray the cop was always
oh
not
yeah.
a great cop, but he was always showing up at the door, and they play
Uh,
poker, and wasn't really doing his job.
yeah. I remember that. Oh my
Then they had
goodness.
the poker players. They had Vinny and Speed. That was part of the play. But the
Yeah.
poker players were at the Oscar's house all the time or apartment all the time, so they were
Yeah.
there. And then of course they had Myrna, which is Oscar's secretary, which was Penny Marshall.
Oh my
Remember?
gosh. Yes.
Of course, she was Laverne. She was uh,
Yes.
she was of course the sister of the producer Gary Marshall, who produced the Odd Couple. So
Oh my
that's
God.
her first regular. She was on a couple other. She was on Mary Tyler Moore the last season for a few episodes before she got the Odd Couple. That was kind of the early part of her career. But yeah, that was her first series,
Oh
regular
wow.
series. Was Odd Couple. She played Myrna, the second one with that kind of real nasally voice.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. That is so funny. And then I liked her in Laverne and Shirley. That
Yeah,
was
yeah. She got that. I guess right after Odd Couple ended, they went right into. I think she went right into Happy Days because they were on Happy Days for a while, weren't they? Those two characters
yeah, those two
for like
characters.
a season off and on, and then they did a
Yeah.
spinoff, and the spinoff was like more popular than the Happy Days.
Yeah, yeah, the spin-off it seems like Laverne and Shirley.
Yeah, I think they debuted at number one. I remember they said they spun one. Happy Days was like number two or something. It was crazy.
It
You
was
know,
crazy. And then what happened was then they were on a long time because then they
six,
moved to
8 years, I think. Yeah, right.
California.
Yeah, well, sure. Shirley left.
Shirley left.
Shirley Williams. She left. She wanted. I don't know if she wanted to do other stuff or
Yeah.
so. Laverne's character. I guess they moved out to California when Shirley was on, and then she left, and then they did another season or two in California. Didn't work in California. Didn't make any sense.
No, no. It was
I
kind
think they
of
pushed ahead the years too. It wasn't the '50s anymore. It was like the early '60s, or
60s. Yeah.
it wasn't as good.
It
Even she
wasn't.
said that. Laverne, uh, Penny Marshall said in an interview, she said those weren't that great, but she had a contract and they were getting paid a lot of money, so she did them.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
she left. She said I had enough, and she ended it. Really, she didn't want to do it anymore.
No, it was like I would think when you're a character, there's like so many things you can do, and
Yeah,
then
well, the comedy team broke up, so her by herself. They brought in they had Lenny and Squiggy still, and maybe some crazy neighbors, but it's not the same. It's not Laverne and Shirley anymore. It's just
no,
Laverne.
no,
She felt there was nothing to do. Nobody. There wasn't any comedy team anymore.
no. It was like was the show called Laverne? I was trying to remember after
I don't know if
Cheryl.
they changed it or not that last year. If they just, I think they still call it Laverne and Shirley, but I have to look that up. I'm not sure. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that maybe Shirley came to visit 2 or 3
Did she
times,
come on a couple times? Maybe she did. Yeah.
and but I remember it was like the 60s, and it wasn't
They
as
moved it into like the almost the mid '60s, where it was kind of hippie thing. It wasn't the '50s anymore, so it changed the whole thing. You know,
yeah, and then you
but
had
they
the
had a lot
weird.
of money. So, but anyway, yeah, Myrna was the character on Odd Couple.
Wow.
She branched out into that, and then yeah, and then for people not out, I mean, not aware, or we had a chance, or I had a chance about I guess 2006, to talk to Jack Klugman on radio
Oh,
in Sarasota. That interview, if you want to see it, it's up on YouTube. You can just look it up. Type my name in, Doug Miles and Jack Klugman. And it was
oh,
really fun to see him. He did a show at Van Wezel, the theater in Sarasota,
oh,
and
wow.
fun to meet him. Yeah.
Now you got to actually meet him in
I met him
person.
after the show. We talked on the phone, obviously on the radio, and then after I went to his show, and then afterward I got a picture of it. Maybe I can put the picture on the
Yeah.
video we're going to do here. I can put it up there.
Okay,
And
that would
this
be
guy
great.
he wrote a book about Tony Randall. It was about friendship, his friendship with Tony. That's why we
Wow.
had him on the radio, and then he was also doing a show locally. and it was really good. So it was fun to meet him. I never got to meet Tony Randall though. It would have been fun.
That
Yeah.
would be really, gosh, he was,
My
I,
uncle knew him. My uncle
I,
was in show business, and he knew him very well, but I never got to meet him. Yeah.
oh, I always wondered how, Tony Randall got started in show business. Like,
Yeah, I
what he,
think he just after the war he got into radio. He was like a national radio, network radio. He did some
okay,
shows in early television in the '50s. They both did TV in the '50s, like live TV. Jack
okay,
Klugman and Tony, and then Tony Randall I think had a series in the '50s called Mr. Peepers, pretty
okay,
popular.
okay,
And Jack Klugman did more movies I think in theater,
okay,
and then they. I think Tony Randall was a bigger movie star, though. He had
okay.
some, because he was in the Pillow Talk. He was in some of those Doris Day movies with Rock Hudson.
Oh, yeah,
Tony Randall was in 3 or 4. He was like the best friend or the neighbor or something. So he was a bigger movie star than Jack Klugman ever was.
okay,
They both did movies. And then in the '60s, I guess the movie career kind of faded on Tony Randall. He wanted to do TV, and that's how they put him together for the TV series, '70. Yeah.
that is so neat.
Yeah. But they're both theater actors. I saw them on Broadway.
Wow.
I don't know, early '90s. They did a couple of plays, and I went to see them, and they were really good. Now, Jack Klugman unfortunately had the throat cancer
Oh,
early '90s from smoking, I guess he said. But he got his voice back. Tony Randall kind of helped him, with that, and put him on a couple of plays, and then and Jack Klugman was able to continue his acting career. He had a raspy voice, obviously,
okay.
but they worked together almost till Tony got sick.
Oh,
He died. Jack, yeah. And Jack Klugman, I think, lived to about 92. So he had a good run. Yeah.
wow. Yeah, it was The Odd Couple. Doug, it's such a classic, for TV, and
It
I'm
still
like,
works today because it's not dated. It's like the Honeymooners, and you can watch those episodes over and over, and they're always good. They're
they're all
available on Pluto now. If you have the Pluto channel on the streaming, they're there right now. One place, maybe there are other places too, but really good. Yeah.
definitely, and it never gets old. It never gets stale.
Yeah, it's always funny. I mean, it's coming. It's always funny.
It's always funny. I love both of those actors, though, Jack Klugman and Tony Randall. They're
Yeah.
they're so talented.
Let's see, Tony, Felix's wife was Gloria. She'd
Okay.
show up for a while, and then Oscar's ex-wife was Blanche, who was his real life wife at the time.
Oh my gosh.
Brett Summers, who people probably remember her if you remember the Match Game. She was the top middle panelist on that. Brett
Oh,
Summers. Yeah, she was on the Match Game.
oh my God. Now was that Jack Klugman? She's Jack
That was his
Klug.
real wife. They eventually got divorced, but that was his real wife at the time. She played the ex-wife Blanche on the TV show.
Oh
She'd show up
wow.
every once in a while on the show. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. That is
Not
so
every week, but several episodes she was on. Yeah.
oh
Yeah.
my gosh, Brett. Because I always wondered with Brett Summers, like who was she and
Yeah,
stuff.
she was a pretty well-known actress in theater, and then she did The Odd Couple, and then Jack Klugman actually recommended her for the Match Game. I think he was on it, and he said, "How about put my wife on?" And then so
Yeah.
that's what she did for like I don't know, 15 years, whatever that show was on.
Wow. Oh
Yeah,
my gosh. That
yeah.
is
But she was like a pretty good actress, but unfortunately nobody knew that because she was on the game shows.
on the because yeah, because I didn't really know. Was she ever in movies,
I know
Doug?
she did movies, but they said she did a lot of theater, New York.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
And guest shots, but basically she was on Odd Couple as Blanche. Yeah,
Okay. His ex-wife.
yeah. So, but yeah, if anybody out there has never heard of it, please check it out. The Odd Couple.
Please check it
Check out
out.
the movie too. The movie's available. I think it's on YouTube. You can see it for free.
Okay.
Jack
Now,
Lemmon and Walter Matthau, and great movie. Did you ever see the movie? I don't think
oh,
you and I
yeah.
saw it
Now
together,
was
but
that
you ever?
was that on TV before the series
They
started?
would show it on TV every once in a while. TCM would have it, or local stations, and But that came out in '68. You know, that was
I heard it was a really good movie.
great. I saw it as a kid. I remember my parents took us to it. It was really funny. Yeah,
Oh my
yeah.
gosh.
Which
It's
was
like,
basically a play. If you know, the play
yeah.
was actually Walter Matthau and Art Carney on
Oh
Broadway.
wow.
Ed Norton played Felix. I would have loved to have seen that.
Oh my
Imagine
God.
that. I mean, Ed Norton and Felix are totally different characters, you know. But
Yes.
Art Carney was a great actor. I would have loved to have seen that. Yeah,
Oh my gosh, because he was so funny. He
yeah.
was, oh my God. I would love to.
I saw a version of The Odd Couple. I saw the women's version
Oh
in New
wow.
York at Westbury Music Fair. I might have seen it. I think I saw it on Broadway too. It had Sally Struthers and Rita Moreno. They rewrote it. Neil Simon rewrote it for the women to
Wow.
be the characters of
Yeah.
Oscar and Felix as women, and it was good. Yeah, yeah.
Oh, that
Not as
is,
good as the men, but it was good. Yeah,
oh my gosh.
because it doesn't work with two women as well. I mean, it was a funny play, but it's not the same. But it was
No,
funny. Yeah,
that sounded really, yeah, because I really, because The Odd Couple, it's just even when you hear the name of the show or,
yeah.
that it makes you smile.
Oh
It really,
yeah, yeah.
it
Then they
was
did a
just,
reboot a few years later. It was terrible. They did a version with Damon Wilson and Ron Glass, a black version. I want to call it that. Maybe that's not right to say today, but that's what it was. It was a black actor's version, and it
yeah,
didn't last. It lasted less than one season. It just wasn't the same. Yeah,
no,
yeah,
it's like there's certain chemistries with some of these shows, and it's very hard
yeah. And they were reusing scripts too for some reason. I guess there was a writer's strike, and they literally you watch a few. I watched it, and I saw this on the original show, the same script.
oh,
So yeah, it didn't last, but people might remember that one too. But forget about that one. Watch
yeah,
the original.
absolutely.
On Pluto, as far as I know, it's on Pluto still, and then maybe you can always buy the DVDs. They're available, I'm sure, somewhere, or Amazon, or download it.
Yeah,
But that'll wrap it up for this one. Odd Couple.
Odd Couple,
You can only give that a thumbs up.
absolutely.
And if you're under a certain age, please check it out because there's nothing like TV like it anymore. TV
Yes.
stinks now. So they don't know how to make a sitcom anymore.
No. Oh gosh.
Terrible. That's
Uh,
my opinion. I'm sticking to it.
absolutely. Uh,
Thanks for watching, everybody. We'll see you again on the
thank
town.
you. Thank you.